Créde, good morning. How are you?
Hi, Norm. Morning. Happy Thanksgiving, early Thanksgiving to you
Oh,
because our
thank
one's for
you.
tomorrow.
Thank you. Prepping. I haven't eaten in a week. I'm waiting, to jump in tomorrow. But thank you very much. Today you're going to be talking about trusting your mind while trading. So that is a tough one, and I am very interested to hear it. Take it away.
Great. So I know as well we're a little pressed for time, so I'll keep this to the point. But I just wanted to talk today about why you can't trust your mind always when you're trading. And that seems a bit of a strange thing to say because if you can't trust your own mind, who can you trust? But it's always worth running your thoughts through a filter to see if actually are they objective or are they something that I'm sort of projecting onto the world. So we're going to talk about mind traps, and in psychology, the term that they use for this or for these mind traps are cognitive distortions. But basically, we're talking about ways that you look at the world or lenses that you use to look at the world that are actually not objective, but because you wear them all the time, all of the information that you look at in the world, you kind of confirm through this lens. So it means that you're not even aware that you have this blind spot. So let's make that a little bit more concrete. So I think probably a lot of people can resonate with the idea of when you're in the market and sometimes you're starting to feel a little bit desperate or you're, trying to make the money, maybe you haven't taken some trades yet and you're getting a bit antsy, you want to get in. And then you actually start reading things that aren't actually there. So you start thinking that you see a setup, but it's mostly coming from the idea that you just want to be in trading. Or maybe you're in a trade and you're hoping to see some signals or indicators, so you actually see them. So basically you're imposing yourself on the market as opposed to reading what the market is presenting to you. And that's a tricky situation to be in because it leads to these kind of, we call it, I don't know if you guys use it in trading, but in rugby or in sport, a Hail Mary trade where you're just in there and you're hoping that it works out. But you're basing it on hope. So maybe you're in a losing trade and you're staying in there because you really feel like, oh, well, maybe this will just turn around. But it's based on emotion as opposed to being based on any logical, rational, observable facts. So that's a way that your own biases can impact your trading. And the way to counteract that is to become really aware of when you're doing this. So the more you can draw your own attention to when you do this and pull yourself up on it, then the easier it is to stop doing it. So to actually take that lens off. So to be more present with the market and what it's actually telling you and flowing with that as opposed to trying to impose yourself on it. So one quick way that you can do that is to track how objective you've been in your trading. So maybe you want to call it something like reading the market as opposed to imposing yourself. And then you give yourself a rating out of 10 every day for how well did you read the market as opposed to how much you were imposing yourself. So if you found yourself in the grip of Hail Mary trades, maybe you're giving yourself a 1 out of 10. But if you absolutely stayed present with what the market's presenting you with, then you'd be a 10 out of 10. And when you track that on a daily basis, it brings it to the front of your mind and you become much more conscious of when you're doing this. So that's a specific way that it can relate to your trading. But we also have mind traps that we carry around and they impact the person and the performer. So every other area of your life as well as trading, because if you're wearing a specific lens that you're interpreting the world in a certain way that isn't objective, you're probably using that in your relationships, in your friendships, in your social life, all of the other areas outside of trading as well. And so what are some mind traps that people have? Well, one is the idea of a kind of victim mentality. So if you tend to interpret events as you being a victim, that things are out to get you or you're always hard done by, that could be a mindset that people get into. And it's really important to challenge that because it's quite a disempowering mindset to be in. So if you're wearing that lens of the victim, you'll interpret every event that happens as, you'll take it personally. And that really doesn't support you in your trading or in other areas of your life. But other ways that you can actually have mind traps or these lenses that don't serve you would be things like where maybe you always discount the positives. So in your trading, an example of this would be where you actually followed your process on a trade, you did everything right, but the trade went against you. And all you focus on is the fact that the trade went against you, and you don't focus on the fact that, well, I was really disciplined and I stuck to my trading rules. So that would be one way. Another way might be that you tend to kind of generalize. So because you've had a red day yesterday, you say, right, that's it. You know, I'm now in a rut, and this is going to happen again today. And that always happens to me. So when I've one red day, it's followed by three more, and that's just how it is. So that's actually a lens that you're using to look at the world. So there's a whole load of different mind traps. So if you want to look at this in more detail, look up cognitive distortions from psychology, and you'll see a whole range of ones that might apply to you. And most people carry a few of these around, so it's not uncommon to have these. But if you can catch yourself using them, remove the lens and look at everything more objectively, especially your trading, you'll be in a much better position. So if you want to challenge these mind traps, first identify what ones that you're using, then catch yourself as you're using them. So try and develop really good self-awareness around when you're actually looking through these lenses, and then try and actually question the validity of them. So the problem with mind traps is that we always look for evidence that confirms them. And that's why it's a bias. So we need to actually force ourselves to look at the evidence that goes against what we're thinking. So if you're in that habit of having one red day followed by three more, try and think back to a time where you had a red day and you turned it around really well, and the following day was a really good trading day. So that would be a way to counteract the mind trap. So you want to challenge the mind trap, and then you want to actually look for the objective, more neutral, more realistic, probable truth in the situation. So I know we're pressed for time, so that's just a quick introduction to it, but definitely worth checking out. And I'd advise people to go and Google that so you can see if any of those are at play for yourself in your trading.
I love it. Thank you, Créde. And that Hail Mary trade, some people call it a YOLO trade. You only live once. It rarely ever works. It just makes things worse. So that's awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you, Créde. Have a wonderful day, rest of the week, and we'll see you on Monday.
You too. Talk later.